Hey there, guys. Today we're going to go ahead and get into practice with dividing numbers, and this is part one. So these are just numbers that might be whole numbers. They're numbers that might be decimal numbers. We're going to try to look at a few problems and just practice them. So you need your spiral notebook paper or just regular paper and a pencil to do some work and follow along with me. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and move this and look at our first problem. Let's look at a problem like maybe something we did towards the beginning of this whole unit with division, or the video lesson series if you've been following along. So here we have 216 divided by 8. This is kind of like maybe a fourth grade problem. You start seeing division with multi-digit numbers around fourth grade in the States here. So this problem here, we're going to go place by place and divide it. We have 8. Does 8 divide 200s? So think of this as money. Sometimes that's the easiest way to visualize it. Can you divide up to $100 bills between 8 people? Right, no, you can't. So you're going to go to 2110s, all right? So 2110s would be right here, all right? Place value is really important with division. So we really need to consider it as we go through and divide. So 2110s, if I had $10 bills, could I give those to 8 different people? And if so, how many could I divide among those people? Yeah, you could. Now, before I go any further, if you want to pause the video at any point because maybe you feel really confident in doing this problem, go for it. And then you could unpause and check your work with mine. All right, so 8 divides 21. How many times? What times 8 is close to 21 without going over? Yeah, 2 10s for each person would be 20. So that's 160. If I did 3, that would be 240. That's too much. All right, so we started with division, then we put 20 in each group. So we multiplied times 8 groups to see how much we would divide up. And then we see we're going to see what we have left. We're going to subtract. So let's see, we have 6. If I ungroup the 2, that becomes 1. And the other one becomes 11 now, 10 more. So 10 or 11 minus 6 is 5. So we have 56 left. Okay, so we're going to check now to see if we can keep dividing. This is our basic process. If we can keep dividing, we'll go back up here. Yeah, this is our basic process for division. And yes, I can keep dividing because 56 is divisible by 8. I can share that among 8 people. $56. How much could each person get? If you want to look at your times table, feel free. Again, I'm looking at 8 multiples of 8. How many could I put in each group? Go across, and you should see a number close to 56 or equal to 56. And yes, it is 7. 7 in each group, and 7 in each group then would be 56. So this one works out really well to give you 0. Nothing left over, no remainder. So we have an answer. Now, to find our answer, we kind of put it in expanded notation up above the bracket. So we add those two quotients together and we get 27. All right. So there you go. 216 divided by 8 is 27. All right, that was a pretty simple one. Let's move on to another one. And these are in no particular order as far as how you might have learned how to divide. I'm just going to randomly put numbers up. How about this one? We have 18 divided by 0 and 3/10. Okay, I'm going to let you look at that one. If you want to pause the video again, you're welcome to, and then try to work through it. My first question, though, is what do you do first in this kind of problem? Yeah, if you see the decimal first, you want to consider it first before you start dividing and going through the process here for division, okay, that we've been using. So that means I'm going to change this to a whole number because it's easier to divide with whole numbers conceptually. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. To do that, I want to move the 3. I want to shift it one place. So then it becomes 3. So that means, remember, each place value is how many times bigger to the left. Yeah, if I shift those digits to the left, they become 10 times bigger. Like $10 is bigger than $1, right? By 10. 10 times bigger. So then $100 is 10 times bigger than $10. So if I shift this 3 one place, it becomes 10 times greater. Now, remember also that fractions are division. So it's kind of like I have this fraction here, all right? And if I do a multiple of 10 on the bottom, I also need to do that right to the top. So then 18 becomes 180. Okay, so now we're ready to divide. It's just 180 divided by 3. So we're ready to start the process here that we've already set up. And we're going to start with division. 3 divides 1 how many times? 100. 0 times. So we're going to the tens place. Now I go place by place so I can also keep track of my place value. Which place value am I working with, and where would I put my first partial quotient or answer? So I don't want to put my answer above the 1. In this case, I want to put it above the 8 because I'm dividing up 18 tens now. All right, so what times 3 is close to 18? Okay, yeah, 6. So 60, because it's 6 tens, and 60 times 3 is 180. All right, so then we're left with 0. Nothing left to divide. We're done, and that's our answer. So that one was really quick. Nothing left to do. All right, let's try another one. Okay, on the next one, let's see here. Let's try this. A little bit bigger problem. Trying to give you a variety of problems today to practice. 490 and 4 tenths divided by 8 tenths. Okay, let's see. What do we do first? If you're again ready to go, pause the video and give it a try on your own, then check your work with mine. All right, first thing I want to do, in this case, I see a decimal first in the problem, so I'm going to consider the decimal. Now, what else do you see? Yeah, you see a decimal last as well. So, or in the second part of the problem. Okay, it's in the dividend. So we want to make sure if there's a decimal when we're done, considering the decimal at the beginning, that if at the end of the problem there's a decimal, we consider it as well at the end. So this is kind of our setup for that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and change that. So the 8, if I multiply it by 10, it becomes, instead of 8 tenths, it becomes 8 wholes. All right. So now the 490 must change by 10 as well. So it becomes 10 times greater, and the digits will shift this way. All right. So then the decimal would be over here. Okay. 4,904 now is what I'm dividing. Okay, so what is 4,000 divided by 8. Can I put 4 in 8 different groups? No. So again, we're shifting, or we're going now to the hundreds place, the next place value. Can I divide up 49 $100 bills between 8 people? Yeah, you can. How many times? How many would each person get? 6 or 600 total. All right, so 600 times 8 is how much? You're going to write it down below. Yes, 4,800 or 4,800. Then you subtract to see what's left. All right, I'm trying to give a little wait time so you have time to kind of work a little bit ahead here. You can always pause. Maybe you've got this now and you're ready to try it on your own. You can try in the middle of the problem and pause. So now, does 8 divide 100? No. So we're going to try 10 tens right to here. Okay, so the answer will go here. That's the tens place. Keep track of your place value as you work through these. So 8 divides 10 how many times? Well, if I had 10 tens, I'd give each person 1 10. So that's a total of 80 that I've divided. And now my dividend, how much is left? I'm going to go scroll down here. And 10 minus 8 or 10 subtract 8, I don't have to ungroup. I can do this in my head. That's right, it's 24. Okay, 8 divides 24. How many times? I'm going to go back up. How many would go in each group? I can keep dividing because 24 is larger than 8. I know I can divide it up. Yeah, 3. 3 works perfectly because 3 in each of the 8 groups would give me 24 divided up. So I am left with 0 and done with the division part. Now I look, is the decimal there anymore in the dividend? No, we moved it as we shifted the numbers to the left. So we're good. This is the answer. We just need to add these up, and that equals 613. Okay? 613. Okay, so 490 and 4 tenths divided by 8 tenths is 613. Great. Okay. We're going to clear this one and do another one. I think this might be our last one. Let's try this one. We have 2,380 divided by 28. Okay, now I kind of think these problems are the most difficult. When we deal with division, I tend to think sometimes these can be the most difficult, and the reason is because it's difficult to multiply our quotients times 28 groups to see how much we've divided up. That's the tricky part. So you sometimes make little calculation errors. So just make sure you write everything down on paper, okay, as you go. I've written a process on the side. There's no steps here for considering a decimal because there aren't decimal numbers in either the dividend or the divisor. So now we start to divide. And I'm going to use, remember, 30, round to 30, so I can think in my head what might be a good quotient. As this is easier to multiply in my head than 28. That will help us get started. So does 28 divide 2 thousands? No, we can't put 2 thousands in 28 groups. We have to keep splitting it up. How about 23 hundreds? If I combine the 2 thousands with hundreds, no, we're going to have to keep going. That's still less than 28 groups. How about 238 tens? Yes. Yes. So 9 times 30, what's that? That's 270. We have 238 here. So we're getting close. How about the next multiple down? How about 8 times 30? 8 might work because 8 times 30 is 24, 240, and 28 is less than 30. So I think we should try that. So let's put 8 or 80 in each group. And then we're going to do the multiplication down here. Okay, remember we write it out. 80 times 20 plus 8. Okay, if we put 80 in each group of 28, and we can use this area model to multiply. So 80 times 20, yep, 1,600. 80 times 8, 640. All right, now I combine those to find the total product. Okay, if you did it in your head, if you can't, just write it vertically. What it should be, 22, 40, 2,240. So I'm going to go back up. And that was a pretty good starting point. That'll work. 2,240. And I'm subtracting, right? And I'm left with 140. Okay, can I continue to divide? Yeah, we sure can. So 140 is a lot larger than 28, so we can keep dividing that up. Probably, but not very many would go in each group, right? So what would you try? What times 30 is close to 140? Well, 5 times 40, or 5 times 30 is 150. Remember, our multiple is 28. That might work. Let's go ahead and try 5, because 28 is less than 30. So I think that's pretty close. Let's try it. And I'm going to write up here because I've run out of room below. Let's see, 5. Well, actually, maybe I do have room. Let's see. I'm going to go down and check. Let's see. Yeah, I can use this space over here. 5 times 20 plus 8. I'm going to kind of cram it all in here. All right. Let's see. 5 times 20. What's that? Yeah, 5 times 2 is 10. Shift one place for the 20. It's 10 times bigger. 5 times 8 is 40. Oh my goodness. Look at that, folks. We have an answer. 140 now is what I write below. I already wrote the 5 above. 5 in each group gives me 140 divided up. I'm left with 0. Okay, with my work surrounding the division work. Crazy. Okay, so that means we have 0 left to divide. We actually did it. So what's the answer? That's right, 85. All right. So I have one more problem for you to check out. And this one, I want you to try to figure out what I did incorrectly. So you're going to pause the video and then see if you can catch my mistake. All right? Let me erase this. And then when you unpause, you'll see the problem and you can kind of try to figure it out. And then I'll reveal the answer. All right? So pause the video. Boom, there it is. All right, so 65 hundredths divided by 5 hundredths, and the answer is 13. All right, the first thing you should think about is, does this actually make sense? Does it actually make sense here if, 13 hundredths is what I wanted to put. So does this actually, because I see there's a decimal in the dividend, all right? Does this make sense? Did I do everything right? And I actually said I was going to make a mistake on purpose. So what did I not do correctly in this problem? Can you catch my mistake? Look through. So we have 65 hundredths divided by 5 hundredths? Would I end up with 13 hundredths? No, that doesn't quite make sense, like I said before. So thinking through, I kind of gave you a clue there when I added the decimal. So yeah, there's a decimal here. There's a decimal here. There's 2 decimal place values in the dividend. Do you see it yet? Remember our process. We consider the decimal to start because there's a decimal in the divisor. All right? Right here, there's a decimal in the divisor. Then I went ahead and divided. All right? And now at the very end, yeah, I consider the decimal at the end, right? Because there's a decimal in the dividend. This is kind of tricky. What you should be seeing is I did not change the dividend after changing the divisor. So when I changed 5 hundredths, remember, whatever you do, fractions are division, and whatever you do to one part of the fraction, you must do to the other. So 65 hundredths should be changed. So this right here should be 65. Okay? Then the answer would just be 13 like I had it. So I gave you that big clue at the beginning when I changed 13 to 13 hundredths. So now the answer makes more sense. Yeah, if I had 65 cents and I wanted to see how many nickels that is, or 5-cent pieces, I could divide it up and you could see that, yeah, 13 nickels make 65 cents. You can count them on your hand, or you could actually put them out in front of you. So whatever you do, if you have two numbers with decimals and you're dividing, whatever you do to the divisor, you must do to the dividend. You must do to both parts of the problem. Hope that makes sense. All right, kids. And I hope you caught it. If you didn't, I'll try to get some more problems up there, and you can do some more practice. Until next time, folks. Ciao.